we will get started. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Susie Fitz. I'm a marketing associate here at Dotdigital, based in New York City, but our hub is in London. And today we are going to be diving in to generative AI and AI. So let me have Ryan and Michael introduce themselves. Michael, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Susie and Ryan, for taking some time out. So I'm Michael Tutek. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of preezie. And preezie is essentially building a Gen AI shopping assistant for e-commerce. So yeah, excited to lean in and chat all about what we're doing and what's happening with AI.
Perfect. So excited. And then Ryan, if you want to give yourself a little intro. No intro needed. We have you all the time on our dot labs, but for anyone who hasn't been here.
No, really excited to be talking with you, Susie and Michael, here again this afternoon. I'm Ryan St. Peter. I'm an account executive with Dotdigital. Been with the company now for just about 3 years. Apologies to those who've already been on a Dot Live with me and heard my spiel. But I am a maestro of marketing automation and a digital marketing geek. What that means is that in my spare time, I love to shop online. And part of what supports that habit is finding coupon codes through hacking customer journeys. But on the flip side of that, it gives me an opportunity to learn best practices, see what others are doing, and help my own customers design these really exciting digital marketing experiences. To help prepare and immerse myself in the AI culture today, I also used generative AI to help write my intro here today. So fully immersed and excited to be talking. Thanks, Susie.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Love that you used the product to be well knowledged and ready to go in. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen just so you can see our faces while we chat. There'll be opportunity to share our screen later. But for now, let's dive into our first question. This is gonna be a very casual fireside chat, and this is your reminder to ask questions if you have any during the session in the Q&A. Awesome. So let's get started. Could you please discuss the range of AI and generative AI products that are available to brands today?
Michael, do you want me to go first on this one?
Go for it, Ryan.
Very good, very good. So AI has been around for a number of years now, and I'm sure you're seeing what everyone is seeing. The number of products that are out there are just vast. They're continuing to expand. What we're seeing our customers really leverage are really three different areas or three different types of platforms that focus on the areas of hyper personalization. So, how can I make my content? How can I make my messaging? How can I make my outreach, more personalized to the individual to help deliver a better customer experience? The other area, I briefly touched on it, but content creation in my intro. So, just helping prevent that brain fatigue and coming up and generating new ideas for the marketer to better reach your audience. And then the last area, and this has been a big focus, especially for our customers, is really leveraging predictive analytics. So looking at previous buyer behavior, looking at engagement behavior to help determine future forward looking opportunities for when their next purchase date is, or if their engagement score is starting to lapse and we need to start looking at really some sort of re-engagement series or to get them back involved. So I'd say biggest focus again, hyper personalization, content creation, and the predictive analytics piece are really what we're focused on here.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Michael, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think Ryan's pretty bang on. I would probably just expand to say that, historically AI products have been kind of hyped and they've been everywhere, but they've been kind of behind the scenes. It's required a lot of work and effort. Like you've needed to actually build your own machine learning models. What I would
Mm-hmm.
say is like now it's just starting because the Gen AI in particular is becoming more like um, customer facing, and it's becoming easier for brands or vendors to include it in software. We will see the range expand to everything. So eventually, I think AI or Gen AI in general is almost going to be like saying, do you use like cloud services? It's going to be standard, and and you're starting to see it already. So if you're looking at like, say, relatively newer software, or brands that are integrating some really cool Gen AI into their platform, you'll see that it's like embedded directly into the entire thing. So
Hmm.
as we expand, I think it's there's like a couple now, and then there's going to be a ton more as we expand over the next like 12 months.
Hmm. For sure. I think that's a really great way to look at it, that it's just going to be so commonplace that it's part of every person's question. Um, awesome. Those were some great answers. And now we're gonna like dive into a little bit of the meat of it. But like let's talk about it. The status quo is not okay anymore. ChatGPT has changed the world. How are we supposed to meet that expectation as marketers?
Cool. Ryan, I'll kick off this one if that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think Susie, it's pretty much, yeah, bang on what you said. We all remember, I think most of us remember, somewhere around November 22 when we used ChatGPT for the first time. I surely do. It was just like a completely different thing. Like I was asking it to write. I think I asked it to write me a story about like software in the tone of voice of Eminem or something like that. Like it was just using it for all kinds of things, and it was mind blowing. So I
Hmm.
think we all know that's going to change, and now we're all using ChatGPT daily. And Ryan mentioned it. I use it to help write the intro. I use it more or as much as I use my email inbox. So I think it's just everything's changed, but right now that change is very focused towards ChatGPT, OpenAI, Anthropic directly to consumer. But it's slowly going to find its way through vendors like like preezie to retailers, because we're already seeing it. Like if you're a shopper and you're going on to Guitar Center, you're doing research on ChatGPT. Why wouldn't you just expect that research and that aid and that guidance to be directly on chat on Guitar Center's website? So I think the expectation has just been shifted and it's completely different. And I think it will just take time for the vendors to build the product, the retailers to understand it and implement it. But it is going to be like it's a must. It's a have to do. It's in-store shopping. And hey, by the way, there's this thing called internet now. And you might want to consider selling online. Like it's the same thing.
Hmm. I think that's so interesting to, it's so expected for consumers to be using products like generative AI, but I think it's going to be really interesting once consumers are expecting it from companies like preezie, like Dotdigital on the retailers' websites. Um, so yeah, once it becomes like the next Google, the next thing. So
Yeah.
I love that outlook.
I
Ryan, did you want
think
to add anything? Yeah.
Yeah, so I always encourage my customers and people I'm talking to even take it back a further step. So instead of looking at, just your website, think of it like it's a physical store. What sort of experience are you going in when you walk into that store? Did you go pick up a few things, use self-checkout and leave? There's a lot of missed opportunity there. Or did you go into the store? Did a sales associate engage with you? Did you get recommendations for what to also buy with that? Or leverage a tool like Preezie to help you find, that perfect suit, dress, whatever it may be, and then the accessories to go with it and help to put together an outfit. These are the type of experiences that consumers are looking not only in an in-store experience, but also in their online experience. It makes shopping fun rather than just like a chore or something that you need to do. And I think that we're really starting to see an uplift, as Michael mentioned, that customers are starting to expect this and retailers are starting to adopt it. And it's only going to be more prevalent to deliver that same kind of feel. Like you're leaving a store and you just got something really good, transition, into the e-commerce environment.
Yeah, like instead of leaving the store, you're leaving the website. You're still sitting at your desk, you're still sitting on your bed, but you're like, wow, I feel like I had an experience.
But you feel like you found something, right? It's
Hmm.
the same reason we all go to TJ Maxx and Home Goods. We want to find something, right?
Yeah.
So delivering that side experience and leveraging the AI tools that are out there to do it is really the direction, we're seeing retailers move towards.
Awesome. I love both of those examples. That was great. Um, So I feel like on the flip side, where do you think, or where do you feel like current AI solutions are falling short at the moment?
Mm.
Mm. Um, Michael, I can kick this one off.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
So it's a couple of different areas. So I think first of all, just maintaining common sense, like maintaining that initial reasoning that would really resonate with us as a person and we would take for granted as an everyday piece of it. But the tools often will maybe fail to understand what we're asking them to execute.
Hmm.
And so they'll take leaps in what that context means. We've still got to be very careful with bias and fairness. AI models, depending on the data integrity, good data in means good data out. They can have some bias in them, and we want to make sure that we're eliminating that. And then, really, I think the last two areas, transparency and explainability, like understanding why something was crafting the way it was, so we know how to make it better or more what we're looking for. And then just maintaining a consistent message across multiple channels. Like if you're leveraging AI for your, email content creation, like is my message transitioning into what I want to say in SMS? That's
Hmm.
something we've helped a lot of customers execute with at Dot with some of the tools that we integrate.
Hmm. Yeah, that got me thinking about how I've used different forms of generative AI. So like whatever products are out there, I've used different types of chat GPTs, and some I felt like were more like analytical and some were more creative, and you have to change up your responses when it comes down to that like explainability and the bias. And it's human learning with technology, and it's just kind of hard. You want each product to do everything, and sometimes that's impossible.
Yep.
Um, Michael, did you want to add anything to that question?
Yeah, yeah. I think from our view, or our lens, we're kind of trying to at least conceptually simplify it where no one knew AI was doing anything because it was kind of in the background. So for us, it's all about how do you bring AI from the background to the foreground. So historically, you might have used AI in like say fraud prevention, in the back on carts, or you might use it in things like search, but like no user can actually feel it. So now part of the thing that's impressive about like when you use GenAI is you physically use it, you know you're using it, and it's coming back with things, and you're impressed, and you're going back and forth, and you have some element of control. So I think like right now, the website's version of that is, oh, I click a button and I have control because I click that button and that button goes somewhere.
Hmm.
Whereas I think in the future it will be like, hey, um, I'm looking for an outfit for the beach, and it will just show you things that are relevant, and you'll be like, no, I want the entire outfit to cost less than 400, and you'll go, oh, cool, that probably means a $200 dress, $70 sandal, $20 bag, or whatever it is. So I think it's like bringing it from the background to the foreground, and that's going to take time, but we'll get there. And I think that will then finally start to hit like this expectation, because ultimately every website's expectation is competing against what ChatGPT and these apps are doing exclusively. Because the more value that goes into them, the less value your brand has. So if you're an expert in say makeup, if I'm going to ChatGPT to do all my research, then your website just has less authority, and you're becoming more like almost like a drop shipper. So we need to build that in so you can do a much better job than the generic chat GPT.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. I was really catching on to when you were saying like, we ha having control as the consumer feels really important. AI's always kind of been in the background, but it's really nice to have in the foreground and feel like you have more of that control in this automated world. I think
Yeah.
that's really interesting. Okay, awesome. We'll move on to the next question then. One of the reasons why everyone's here, what AI strategies should brands begin to implement to stay competitive?
Hmm. Michael, you want to go ahead on this one, or would you like me to take it?
You can take this one.
Okay, cool. Um, so I think, just like you mentioned, Michael, we're starting to see it really come out of the background into the foreground. and how customers are leveraging that as a couple of different ways. So, number one, learning, from the experts and on your own are some great places to start with hyper personalization, content creation, and predictive analytics. We're also seeing a significant amount of personalized product recommendations landing on the site to really deliver a tailored customer experience. So what that means is we're accounting for what you viewed previously, what you may have looked at, what you purchased, what you also bought, what other customers are purchasing to really put a solid product in front of you at the right time.
Hmm.
Um, and then, the other piece is just really working on improving, conversion rates as a whole. AI is real time. So bringing in that data and analyzing things as they're happening is, I think, what we're looking for customers to really start to leverage.
Hmm. Love that. Michael, did you want to add anything to what Ryan said?
Um, no, yeah, I think Ryan's yeah, I agree. I think it's just about the impact just not being as noticeable. So similar to my point before. So I think not too much more to add there, just to say that it's another passive area, and I think obviously that's moving into like a passive area into an active area.
Hmm. Love it. Um, all right, cool. I think something we're going to be talking about a lot during this webinar is like product recommendations. So, what are some benefits of using AI specifically to power your product recommendations?
Yeah,
Cool.
so I think, for us is, personalized recommendations, really we see that boost sales for the customer overall. You're putting the right product from the right customer at the right time. The other piece of it, like with preezie, you're utilizing and analyzing different components of what the customer is looking for to put exactly that product in front of them. The other part is the customer experience. We all want to look at products that we love and not things that we maybe don't like so much. So, when you think of like shopping I'm just going to use a clothing store, for example. If I have the items in front of me that come in a big and tall, I'm much more likely to convert than if I go to click on an item every time. It's always a medium. So I think about those kind of experiences, for our customers, knowing that their products, in front of them are the right sizing, that they're in stock, things along those lines.
Hmm.
Um, I mentioned real time, just consumer behavior changes. I may be just casually browsing one day and in more of a mood to shop. And then the last area where we really see product recommendations have a significant influence is just the average order value, right? Sometimes I'm just looking for one thing. Maybe it's a new shirt or a pair of jeans, but how can we also include what else goes with that? What perfectly complements my outfit so that when I leave the house, I feel like I look like $1 million because someone helped or a tool helped me to put the outfit together. And it's all coming from places and things that I like and that are designed to fit me. So that's like one example of a couple of the different ways that, I really see, our customers and, throughout the industry of it being leveraged.
Absolutely. Michael, do you want to add to that one?
Yes, I've got a like really kind of like I guess strong view on the recommendations because it's like what I've spent the last like 10
Yeah.
years doing. Um, so my view, and it's quite funny how people often talk about like AI and AI making things feel less human. And it's so interesting because right now, if you look at a scale of like a website to a human is totally one-to-one, conversational, polite. It has some personality. It might have attitude. It might have brand, tone of voice. And a website, it tries to do that, but it's static. It's buttons. It's click this. It's go there. It's completely like static. And what's funny is that with AI, the AI, especially with Gen AI, you are significantly closer to the human approach than you are to the static approach. So if you go to AI and you say, "Hey, I'm looking for I'm going to an 80s themed party this weekend," like, oh, cool, cool. What do you want to go as? You want to go as Superman from the 80s or whatever it is. It's like totally one-to-one, completely personalized.
Hmm.
And the website couldn't do that. So I think part of this whole product recommendation is that, like, just by the mere fact of not being static, by I guess just turning it from, like, we don't use words like dynamic because humans are innately dynamic, meaning like
Right.
we are non-deterministic. Like if I say, "Hey Ryan," you can say "Hey" back in 30 different ways, you know. So I think AI is the same. So I think we will naturally get these incredible product recs just because it's not doing anything crazy smart. It's just being like, oh, I can hold memory. I can remember what you said. I know that the last three things you said was 80s party, under 200, something blue and red. Oh, cool. That's definitely the Superman costume. So I think that will just happen organically as we start to use this tech.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah, no, I think that was a really great outlook on like the product recommendation of it all. So that was great. Um,
Um,
yeah, go
I
off,
would
Ryan.
add yeah, no, I would add to that, Susie. Like, you don't, you're right. We don't use the word dynamic because humans are natively dynamic, but just how do we make our technology more intuitive, right? I think at a base level, we all understood to or desire to have our likes and dislike understood and delivered on. Um, and in that product recommendation space, just that intuitive nature of making something easy, making it fun, and making it something that I like, really helps at the end of the day. We're driving that conversion, we're driving that customer experience, and we're delivering something that is very personalized to them as individuals. So, really well said, Michael.
Hmm. I think another question that some people might have is, I mean, there's so many types of AI. We're honing down on like product recommendations, but one question is like, how could I use AI during a specific like high demand period, maybe to improve operational issues, times, whatever?
Yeah, I'll take this. I'll kick us off here first. So, a couple of different ways and things to think about. So, dynamic pricing. So, utilizing AI strategies to adjust pricing based on demand. We're seeing this a lot, not in the like necessarily clothing or retail industry, but think about travel, for example. How is pricing determined? Not only based on potentially someone's intent to buy, but also their need to buy, and also the availability of the product that I have. So, especially during high demand periods, we want to be really smart as retailers how we're pricing our product to making sure that we're getting a premium while not scaring customers away.
Hmm.
The other pieces of that, like really just go into the personalization forefront. So making sure your marketing and your follow-up is personalized. And then last is just automating your customer support, giving them a first line of defense so those easy questions can be answered in a shorter period of time and they're not taking up your full support people. Um, and you're giving your team more time and more leverage. Really, a couple of the different ways that that I think about that, especially moving forward, we're going to start to see brands leverage tools that accomplish that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. I know you've been working more on product recommendations, Michael, but if there's anything else you want to add to that, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I think all I'd say is that last part. I think lots of people are still trying to grapple with, like, what AI can do, and I think the thing is that AI can do just about anything a human can do that isn't too heavy, um, like task oriented. So, like, if you have, say, during peak periods, you get a ton of the same questions, or there is some back end logic or process that you have a bottleneck on because you're like, hey, I can do 100 of these an hour, but I can't do 500, and when it's peak, I get 1,000. It's like, cool. Like, if it's a relatively simple business logic problem, like, you could solve that so quickly with AI because it can reason. So I would just say that, to Ryan's point, like, the automation part is definitely the key, I
Hmm.
think.
Time savings is it's really key.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like prepping beforehand. Yeah. And it helps you during. So I love that. Um, okay, so another quick question is, how would you say AI uncovers like hidden opportunities for growth and success? And do you have any real world examples of that?
Yeah, cool. Ryan, I'll take this one if that's good with
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. I was hoping you would. So
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think that with a lot of AI, because it's like chat based, it's going to unleash a ton of growth opportunities. One from just using it, and also from the transcripts and the things you can get out of it. So Susie, I think if it works, I'll share my screen and I'll show everyone like real world examples of at least what we're doing with AI and Gen AI
Yeah,
to kind of show what some brands are doing to kind of unblock or build that growth in. So let me know if you can see my screen.
looks
sure
good, Mike.
can.
Okay, cool. So I'll just let this play on 2 times and I'll kind of narrate it. So what this is doing here is it's actually like a site-wide chatbot that's on the website. So you can see here it's kind of blocked out from this. But it's a site-wide chatbot. We call it Shop with AI. Cool fact for anybody here. Um, when we moved the word AI out of this, we saw engagement drop by 30%. And for context, the demographic of this brand is their average customer is 60 years old.
Hmm.
So we actually ran some tests because everybody was worried about, oh, hey, should I use AI or should I not use AI? And the answer is like use AI. Because if you actually try to make it out like it's a human, like people, you're 30% less likely to get engagement, which is so weird. Um,
Yeah.
especially in this demo. Anyway, so you'll see it here, and as we interact with it, you'll see it can do just normal things. So this is an example of just answering a question. Do you get the same question all the time? Here it goes. You can automate this. Now, one of the things I'll note here is if you look at the search like this, it says like find me some addresses in a size 14 in red or green. That's like a totally advanced natural language search. It's like a 4-layered search. And you can see here, the AI can actually handle that. So it's really hard for a typical search. So think about all the people now who are trained to search by one layer, dress, red dress. Like you can't even search by a dress by you can't go red dress under in size 18. Most of the time that doesn't even work.
Hmm.
So I think part of this is just unblocking all those things where you can do all this. You can actually really bring that in-store experience online. Even simple things like we all know online sizing recs are really, really difficult. So this is a really great response. So earlier before we actually searched for a dress in my size 14. I reckon Ryan would look great in a size 14 dress. And you can see here that it actually said like, hey, I recommend you go to size 16 because like it actually best fits this because it runs small. So like
I
it's
was good.
actually doing all that.
I was going to say, Michael, a size 14 might require some shapewear for me. So,
It's all right. That's all right. Yeah, so you can see here, and you know what we were talking about earlier about growth. Like in here, if you click like, or if you do things like AI can be like, this is the interesting thing. AI can be totally human and polite, but completely shameless, which like is really hard for a human to do. Like a human is very salesy, comes across as cringe. But the AI can be salesy, but not like cringe. So in this, it's like, hey, now that you've done that, let me help you find some accessories to match that. So now it's going into like, cool, find me some sandals to match this dress. So you can totally see here how you can just uncover all these scenarios. Even little things like I'll quickly finish off with on product pages when people are really low in the funnel,
Hmm.
you can actually get them to use the AI directly on the product page. So like imagine this. And this actually happened to my brother-in-law. He was looking at a TV and all he cared about is it good for anti-glare? His room's really bright. So he was just looking at all these TVs and he ended up saying to me, like, hey, I had to go to chat GPT, figure out like what technology is good for anti-glare. Then I had to go back to the website. I had to search for like OLEDs.
Hmm.
Um, and like in that world, obviously this is a different example, you could just go straight to the product and ask the question. So in this example, we ask like, how do you style this top for work? And you can see the response is completely human. So I think to that point, and I'll stop sharing there, you can see there very quickly, like there's just all these opportunities that's really hard. It's just like not possible to do without the tech. Like, or if you do it, like I spoke to one retailer based in the US, and they were like, it takes us a lot of effort to do like bundling, to do like similar to do like
Hmm.
smart search. Whereas with the new AI, like you're going to be able to do a job that's like literally like 5 times better with like 10% the resource. So I think it was a long answer, but like with some context, I think there's so much growth to be had.
No, I was just thinking about like bundling, like, oh, wear this with that product reviews. I feel like half the time I'm using those anyway, but I'm still on Google trying to find more reviews, trying to figure it out. And I feel like chatting with someone makes it feel a little bit, someone with AI makes it feel a little bit more like I'm getting my actual answers. And I'm really gonna buy that pair of jeans or something like that. Um,
Yeah. And the
that's an
thing is
awesome
too,
customer journey. Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
yeah, no, because like even now, like if you look at things like bundling, it's like it's either done by a human or it's automatic done by like what people buy together. But
Hmm.
let's say you're on a dress and you're like, hey, I want to bundle this with a bag that's bright. Yeah, for example, like then like it can't really use any of your natural bundling logic because bundling is relatively fixed. Or if you say, "Hey, I love this dress. I want to dress like this, but in for something that would suit like a line shape."
Hmm.
Like you can't do that because similar to is all based visually. So now you get into a world where you can base it on visual, but you can base it on the text, meaning I can actually search for, I want to dress similar to this in red. That's A line. Like that's incredible. I like this dress, but I want my shape and I want my color. Like you can do all that.
Hmm. Also reminds me of I was literally just using some form of chat GPT earlier and I asked it to do kind of two things at once and it simply wasn't doing it. So I love that this can be like this and this, please. Um, I love that. I think that's really awesome and it smooths customer experiences, gets them to that end goal of purchasing a product.
Michael, you brought up something that I really hadn't thought about, but that also resonated with me is that like I think about people's like willingness over the last few years to interact with AI. And I think about our willingness to interact with a sales associate at a physical store or interact with even another human being to ask their opinion on it. You know, when you leverage like AI tools, like as a consumer, like it gives you really good feedback based on tons and tons of data, but you got to maintain a certain degree of anonymity. Like, I don't have to feel embarrassed about what size I wear, what size I need, or I don't have to feel embarrassed about going to an 80s party or anything like that. Like, there's no fear of judgment that's coming from an AI tool. And I really think that, like, as far as uncovering, like, what really, is the true meaning behind a shopper, like, having that anonymity and being able to process all of that data quickly, like,
Hmm.
as a consumer, like when I go to buy something, that's kind of nice.
Yeah,
No, there's no
definitely.
judgment, right?
No, but to that point, we get about 3 to 5 thousand transcripts from that brand a week. And one of the most common words, we just sometimes do like a quick control F count. One of the most common words we find is thanks. The AI is not saying that. So like people like, and it does become very like sometimes I do it too when I'm demoing. I'm like, can you please? Because
Hmm.
it will be like it's humans. You can tell it's like, oh, you're being a bit short. I'm annoying you. I'm asking too many questions. I'm sorry for bothering you. Like the AI, like you can ask it 1,000 questions. It's if anything, it's more polite because now it knows a little bit more about you. So it's just like people are thanking it, people are saying please, and they know it's an AI. Like it clearly says it's an AI.
Yeah.
But you just can't help it because it just does such a great job of making you feel good about what you're trying to do.
Well, and AI never has the excuses, right? Oh, I haven't had my coffee yet. Oh, I had a really hard day. Oh, my dog was being absolutely insane last night, which he was. It never has those excuses. to deliver a really consistent customer experience.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
what's even
awesome.
cool too is the brand can convert it all and change it to their own tone of voice.
Hmm.
So like, if your branding is like very like say your branding is very tongue in cheek, you can make it be like that. If your branding is ultra like conservative, you can go down that path. If it's really like fun and natural or very informative, like so it just depends. Every brand can have something that is totally on brand, but just always just delivering the like optimum experience.
That's awesome. I didn't know if you saw the question in the chat or in the Q&A. Can you see the questions, Michael?
Yep.
Kind of similar to what you were just sort of talking about, so I think we'll ask it now. Would a solution such as preezie be able to be customized per industry so that its machine learning gets better at helping customers specific to fashion or food or automotive? And I feel like you were kind of just getting on that. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything else.
Yeah. So over time, yes. So what it'll do is we'll like fine tune like as we get more customers and we build out more transcripts, we can anonymize them all and we can just fine tune the entire system. So like we initially built it for Shopify Fashion, but we're expanding out. So like any industry is fair game. But say once we have 100 customers on fashion, 100 in electronics, 100 in hair and beauty, food. Like we can just fine tune the entire experience to be completely one to one on that. So yeah, like the answer, the short and long of it is like yes, it will take some time, but once we have all the information, it's going to be wild. Like it probably actually will feel like a different thing on different websites because it's just like like a really simple example is that, like the AI is already good to know like, hey, I'm looking for cheap TVs. Cool. That's probably TVs under like say 400. If I'm looking for a cheap bag, like that's not under 400.
Hmm.
That's under 40. So like it knows that, but we can just keep going with all those little intricate like say micro learnings. So yeah, definitely that's going to happen, no doubt about it.
Awesome. That's great. That was great. Like example of AI, the customer journey, and making it all happen in real time. I really liked that. Um, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Ryan, or we can move on to the next question.
No, I'm good. I think that that was really great. Really good discussion.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So the next question we're going to go to is, how do I make generative AI prompts more effective to produce the optimal outcomes that I want? I'm not telling you to give me the exact ChatGPT prompts that I need to write a good email, but similar energy.
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of different things that are really important. Um, Number one, like, first of all, just start, if you're not interacting with it already, you're not using it as part of your daily life, just start because you're going to get better at all of these next concepts as you start to use it more.
Hmm.
First of all, I'd say be clear and specific. So really clearly state what your objective is and what you're trying to, what you're trying to produce or what's needed. Provide some context to it as to why you're asking or who the audience is, or what it's necessarily for. The other two are just, use examples. So if you can include or utilize an example, AI is going to be able to better analyze that information and create something that's similar. And then last, ask open-ended questions. Sometimes that's the easiest way to go. Just like, trying to learn more, from another human, or trying to learn more from you, Susie or Michael. Like being open-ended, just gets so much more information out so that I can better understand how I maybe need to refine my prompt or make it a little bit better. Those would be my top suggestions.
Hmm. I read a really interesting thing about someone saying like, what would a good job be for a high school student right now? And it was teach companies that aren't really maybe or that are new to the AI world, like how to write ChatGPT prompts just because they're growing up with it. And I think that's so interesting that it is a learning curve for people. So getting that type of advice that you just gave, Ryan, is super helpful. Michael, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
I would love to. I mean, over the last 12 months, we've built probably like 100 prompts with like 3,000 revisions. So there is like it's art and science. Um, but Ryan had great points. I think one of the things is just start using it. So I think in terms of how to structure prompts, there's lots of best practices, but the general idea is like you provide a context, you go into like, hey, what's your task is, and then you give it an example, and then it's tone of voice. So
Hmm.
you basically say like, hey, you are and so like a lot of ours will be like, hey, you are an e-commerce sales assistant. Your task is to find a category, the category the person is looking for. Um, the other thing I'd say is like start short and then like grow your prompt. So like
Mm.
what you do is you build a small prompt and you go, oh, that works. And then what you'll realize is as you test it, you go, oh shit, that doesn't work for that. Doesn't work for that. So then you start adding in the rules. So don't add in all the rules and then pare back. Build it small and short and then add on extra rules. So like don't be scared of long prompts. Like some of our prompts are like huge. Like we're talking like one prompt can be like what would be equivalent to 2 pages of text.
Yeah.
You don't need small prompts. And then the last thing I would say is you can actually use ChatGPT to test your prompts. So what you do is you build a prompt, and then let's go you build a prompt and you say, oh, I your task is to go off and find the best category to bundle with a product. So you go, oh, what's the product? The product is a dress. What can bundle with a dress? You know, probably some
Hmm.
sandals, some bags, some accessories. If it's getting that wrong, you put that into ChatGPT, tell it like, hey, I've got an AI prompt. This is what it is. This is the output it's generating for this import. That's broken. How do you suggest I fix it? So then you use ChatGPT to fix your prompts. Um, and then that will happen like automatically very, very soon. Even in our platform, we'll look to do things like that automatically. So
That's a
there's some really practical stuff you can do.
that's a level of inception that I
Yeah.
hadn't like, thought about. Like use AI to fix your AI prompts. I'm gonna have to try that out
Yeah,
for
and
everything.
yeah, Ryan. If I, one day I'll show you what like our software roadmap looks like, and without because I can't go into too much detail, but it's basically it's like it is all inception. It's like that does that, but then fixes that, and then that creates a fake person to test that, and then that fake person comes up with like a failed test report, and then that goes to ChatGPT to create a prompt to fix the the thing that was broken, and it's just loops of AI. Because in the end of the day, I think if you think about it, like a prompt is an instruction, and if you
Yeah.
think about like some of the best people in the industry that have done the greatest things, it's like if you look at like a Simon Sinek, for example, like they are just so clear with articulating like their message. So it's like, hey, I see this in my mind and I'm being very clear. So it's like almost like the people who are very clear in the real world, it's the same value proposition. You're just being clear to an AI.
I
So it's
mean,
some
I
pretty
love that.
exceptional stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You inspired me already to go back and use AI to fix my AI. So I love that. No, I'm gonna try that later. I mean that. I'm not being sarcastic.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's I use it every day. Like it's probably saved me like 500 hours over the last year.
That's so cool. Okay, this is why we have these webinars, so we learn things like this.
Yeah, we learn from each other as well as share our knowledge with others. So
Exactly. All right, cool. Okay, we'll move on to another question. I think a good question to ask would be like, what are the most common hurdles you've seen that marketers face when they're implementing new AI, Gen AI strategies into their marketing? Um, yeah, like what are those common challenges that you're seeing?
I think for us and customers that, I'm talking with, it's a couple different things. Data quality and integration, good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out. But it's really crucial for AI models. Any poor data in that is going to lead to an inaccurate, result and not what you're wanting. I think although it's gotten better and we've seen significantly more adoption of the tools that are out there, there's always a little bit of resistance to change. Like I've always done it this way, or this is how I learned. So I think you kind of have to overcome that and find some ways to make it engaging and fun while still helping you, produce the results. And then the last part is just, make sure you have a really clear strategy. Um, you know, we hear, within the industry itself, many organizations out there just have trouble defining how they want to use it and how they're going to leverage it for their tool. And, we know as marketers that one of the most things important, with reaching out to our customers is consistency. So making sure that strategy maintains across your channels, across your brands, and across the entire customer experience is really important. And it starts with simple steps. So small adoption, add a little bit more, but make sure you have a long-term game plan for it. Those would be I think, the three biggest areas where I often see customers struggle to leverage it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Michael, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think the strategy part is super interesting. Like I think often when I talk to customers about it, they're just like, and I feel sorry for the retailers. Like it is like a really weird time. Um, I do take it back to the time of like invention of electricity or the invention of the internet. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, like what do I do? I don't want to spend too much time going down this route. Like there are literally projects that I spoke to one guy. I was like, and I felt really sorry for him. Like I spent 12 months building this, and I'm like, yeah, and it's like not very good compared to what you can just buy on the shelf for like $200 a month.
Hmm.
And it's like it's just heartbreaking to be honest. So I totally get it. It's so confusing. So on that basis, what I would say is what Ryan said was just like you need to get into it, you need to get deep, and you need to just pick little areas and just do little things. So it could be like our little AI shopping assistant, very easy, very quick little thing, or it could be some dot marketing with some Gen AI for responses. Like whatever it is, I think it's like get familiar with it because you're going to face like we're working with one of the biggest retailers in Australia, and it's already like, hey, how do you get this across legals? It can literally say anything. Can I jailbreak it to be abusive? You could try. I mean, it will filter out, but like you can physically try. So this is the
Hmm.
thing, like it's just a different world. So you just need to start getting into it. You need to start getting familiar, start understanding the prompt engineering, and then just little steps. Because what you do something little like, oh, I just got like Gen AI bundling. I just got like Gen AI search. I just got Gen AI message marketing or Gen AI in my email, and then you'll just get more comfortable. And then it's like it won't really change the strategy. It will be like the same thing. It will just be all run with AI. So you'll just be earlier to the party than the
It'll,
rest.
it enhances your productivity too, as a
Yeah,
marketer. One of the areas that our customers leverage it is just in their A/B testing. Like really simple strategy. you know, they're trying to, we were in Miami a few weeks back for our team kickoff, and I got the chance to talk to some of our customer success managers and, just encouraging clients to leverage, our internal AI, called Winston, to really just generate a second subject line and A/B test it. It
yeah,
takes
it's
30
perfect.
seconds in order to make that quick change. And, it's not necessarily going to, generate like 50, 20, 30, 40, 50% increase in open rates, but 1 and 2% matter. And simple and easy ways to integrate it, like that are really just great ways to get started.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like you said, you just keep expanding, and before you know it, it's become an integrated part of how you operate your day to day, and how your customers interact with your brand and your site.
I think one thing I'll add on to that, Ryan. I love the example of the internal because if you think like this, like think about a world where the AI can create its own tests, can run its own tests, and you're a big brand, so you have infinite volume basically. You have 20 million emails, so you can run tests for days. You could run 1,000 tests next month, but people can't do that. But AI could. But the thing is,
Yeah.
you won't trust the AI to do it. So then what happens is you have to manually get, hey, create what you will happen is over a quarter, the person will go create subject line, oh, love it. Create subject line, oh, love it. And they'll do that 50 times. And after a quarter, they'll be like, you know what? I don't need to check this. And then they'll click this little button that says automatic testing, and then it'll run 1,000 tests next month. So like people just have to get used to it. So then eventually they trust it, and then once they trust it, it can do it on its own, and it can do it at 100 times the speed.
Yeah, small refinements make big impacts to everything. And um, that's true in every environment. You can tell a retailer what would you do with a 1 to 2% greater open rate, while what would you do with 1 to 2% greater volume of sales? That all articulates into the larger picture to help drive revenue.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, that was great. I think we can end with one more question. Maybe we were kind of getting at it, but like what are the stakes for retailers now? Little deep, but I think it's a good question.
I'll kick this one off, Ryan, if that's all right.
Yeah, please do.
Um, so we at the moment, I think, like we're on, I guess, a mission to just help retailers, and I think a lot of vendors are on a mission to help retailers understand this. I personally think that the stakes are if you do not entrench yourself into understanding this technology, you will be the blockbuster of your industry. I do think that it's going to hurt so much that it's going to be like, I'm not sure if people know, but if you go back to 1970s before like electronics, the third industrial revolution, 90% of the Fortune 500s don't exist anymore. So we're talking like we're talking right now, your Microsofts, your Apples, your Amazons, your Metas not being around because they don't adapt. So
Mm,
I do think that eventually this will be the difference between businesses who actually survive and thrive and ones that just go under. I think it's that big of a change.
yeah. And I think like as scary as that could sound, it's like take the strategies that we've talked about today, start implementing them. You don't have to be the biggest AI retailer in the company, but in the world, but like start small and you're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, sort of a strategy. Sorry, that's really cliche from like my third grade classroom, but
It
no,
works.
I think it's absolutely true. And small incremental differences and more incorporation, like your competitors, if they're smart, they're already doing it or they're leveraging it, and you have to do the same to be competitive. And if you want to beat the competition, you've got to get out ahead of them and in front of them,
Hmm.
utilizing some of these tools. It's no doubt that the industry as a whole is going more towards, adoption of this experience. And it's best to not only try and get along for the ride, but drive the bus, if you will. I'm just full of
Yeah.
cliches this afternoon, so thanks for bearing with
The
me.
best ones though, Ryan. The best ones.
Okay, amazing. No, I love the cliches. You're our AI cliche tool. Thank you, Ryan. All right. Well, I think that's amazing. We have no more questions left in the Q&A. I want to thank Ryan St. Peter for coming and Michael, thank you for waking up early in Australia. It was really lovely to have you. Once again, Michael was with preezie, Ryan was with Dotdigital. We'll be here again next month with another Dot Live. So also keep your eye out for a follow-up email with the recording and some info from this session. So thank you,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Susie.
Susie.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Michael.
Ryan.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, guys.
Bye.